before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. While WWE had been building Lacey Evans as a babyface, using her military and sympathy, she has now turned heel, as Jim Cornette had this to say about it on his podcast. She was a good heel, she had personality, she had a good heel demeanor. Haven't seen much of her wrestling, but it didn't look like it was rotten as I recall. But how she got there to being a heel was the most ignorant way to build a heel I've ever seen, by making them the greatest person in the world, who has overcome every tragedy, and be as admirable a person as possible. But now I'm better than you are? What? Where did that come from? So now they can't make her a babyface again. It wouldn't take. With many changes expected to come to WWE in the next few weeks and more, Butch has teased going back to his original name Pete Dunne, as he changed his name on Twitter and posted a throwback photo from his days on NXT. Speaking of the new head of WWE Creative, Triple H recently spoke during the company's second quarter earnings call, where he noted his focus, saying, "The opportunity in front of us is massive, and as a great man once told me, first stay on the job thinking." And that's what we're doing here. First stay on the job thinking. For me, I've been doing this for a long time. From behind the scenes in creative, from really almost the very beginning of my career here with WWE. I'm approaching it from a first day, what is working, what isn't working. From the overall picture, all the way down to the smallest of details, and really trying to create from there. It all comes down to the same thing that it's come down to since the beginning, creating iconic characters, putting them in amazing storylines and fantastic storylines, and whatever works for those characters the best, and then running with it and watching how fans react to that along the way. I think the opportunity is massive. It's an opportunity for us to not only engage with these stars we have for our fans, but to create new stars as well, and create the platform and opportunity for them to become bigger than anything we've seen prior to it. Speaking of Shaq Wrestling, Eric Bischoff had some choice words for AEW President Tony Khan when it comes to claims of his company competing with WWE. AEW is a super meaningful alternative to WWE, but the point is, Tony Khan refers to WWE as competition. Tony, wake the F up. You are not competition. You've not taken any market share, your audience is not growing on television, and there is not even a comparison in terms of a financial perspective, in terms of revenue generation. So exactly how are you competitive? If you're not taking market share, and you're not even in the same conversation from a revenue standpoint, that's the beginning and end of the competition conversation. You're either taking market share or you're not. Or you're either equal to or close in on the competitor's revenue, and they're not. They're not even close. If Tony Khan is smart, and I know he's very, very smart, a lot smarter than me in a lot of ways, I don't exactly think he's got a creative instinct in his body. I think what he's doing is reliving a childhood memory. You know, VCW in the indie scene and super matches. He's booking, in my opinion, like a 14-year-old would, who would have a lot of toys and things he can play with, but I'm not seeing story. We've seen the wrestling audience or AEW call it a story, but it's not. It's an excuse for having a super match or dream match. If Tony is really smart, and if his goal was to really compete with WWE, he needs to look at what's working in WWE in terms of the storytelling and format perspective. He's going to wake up one day and realize that being a dirt cheap booker and catering to the internet wrestling community is a wonderful thing, because your name is on the internet all the time, but it's not going to grow beyond the point that it currently exists, because you're only serving a small portion of the audience. You're not reaching out to the broader audience. Not everyone breathes, sleeps, and eats wrestling, you know? The internet audience does, but there's a more, I don't want to say passive, but a less committed viewing audience out there that's really important. For a Q&A session on Patreon, former WWE writer Vince Russo was asked to elaborate on his belief that Vince McMahon is not actually retired, as he said, "I will never believe that Vince McMahon is retired. I don't care what you tell me." He's doing what? Vince McMahon is no longer involved in WWE, no longer involved in the day-to-day. He is retired, and he is doing what? What does Vince McMahon's day look like? The reason why I feel so strongly about this is I've worked with the man. I know his work ethic. I know he has nothing else in his life but wrestling. Unless you've experienced him and worked with him and know him, you may just believe it. Those of us that know him and work for him do not believe it. I do believe that WWE would need some type of smokescreen to make people believe Vince is really retired, and a real simple smokescreen is for Triple H to bring back a multitude of his NXT talent, and that's what he's done. He's brought back several NXT talent that were released. Is that a smokescreen? With chairwoman and co-CEO of WWE, Stephanie McMahon, taking part in the second quarter investors call, the Wrestling Observer noted how she responded to a question regarding a sale. Asked if co-CEO is what she wants long-term and about her leave of absence, Stephanie said she wasn't forced to come back after 3 weeks. She offered. Doesn't answer the long-term question. She also addresses the between the lines of the question, which is a sale. She said Vincent Kennedy McMahon is still controlling shareholder and their management team is always thinking about what is best. With WWE's board investigating the alleged hush money payments made by Vince McMahon to former female employees, the SEC filings also revealed that the investigation is nearly complete. On June 17, 2022, the company and its board of directors announced that a special committee of independent members of the company's board of directors was formed to investigate alleged misconduct by the company's former chairman and CEO, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, who resigned from all positions held with the company on July 22nd but remains a stockholder with a controlling interest, and another executive who is also no longer with the company. The findings of the investigation identified agreements executed by Mr. McMahon which were previously unknown to the company. On July 25th, the company announced that it had determined that certain payments that Mr. McMahon agreed to make during the period from 2006 through 2022, including amounts paid and payable in the future totaling $14.6 million, were not appropriately recorded as expenses in the company's consolidated financial statements. The company subsequently identified 2 additional payments totaling $5 million. Unrelated to the alleged misconduct by Mr. McMahon that led to the special committee investigation that Mr. McMahon made in 2007 and 2009 that were not appropriately recorded as expenses in the company's consolidated financial statements. Together, these unrecorded expenses total $19.6 million. The company has evaluated the unrecorded expenses and has determined that such amounts should have been recorded as expenses in each of the periods in which they became probable and estimable. All payments underlying the unrecorded expenses were or will be paid by Mr. McMahon personally. The special committee investigation is substantially complete. During a recent Instagram live session, Becky Lynch claims she gets to write her own promos in WWE, saying, "Thankfully for me, it's not like that, and it's not like that for this guy either. We get a promo and sometimes there'll be lines in it that you have to hit. It'll often be that the lines that you're like, that doesn't sound like she would say that, but for the most part, we've gotten to the point where we've gotten enough equity and we've gotten enough trust that we get to write our own promos. It's usually a collaborative process, where if I'm comfortable with my writer, I'll go, well, what do you think of this? I feel like it's gotta hit more, and I think we could do more with this. A lot of the times they'll come up with a good line. It's collaborative that way when you've gotten that equity. But I think when you first come up, it's different. Like when I first came up, I was too scared to say anything out of turn. I was like, oh, these are the words on the page. I must say every single word exactly as it is. Thankfully, it's not like that anymore. When speaking to MYTV 26 at Stockton Con, Mickie James was asked what is next for her in pro wrestling, and she said, "I don't know. I'm a mom. My son is 8 this year. I think I'll always do stuff with wrestling in some capacity. I enjoy doing things like this. It's a way to reconnect with fans. I don't really know what's next. That's the beauty of it." Right now, James is advertised to be facing Lizzie Evo at 1PW for October 1st, with her last competing on July 14th for Impact Wrestling. On his Click This podcast, WWE Hall of Famer Kevin Nash spoke about Triple H previously being away from NXT and having Vince McMahon and company take over the brand and undo all the work the game put in. You have to meet his mother and father. His mother and father are like salt of the earth, two of the nicest human beings on the planet. His socialization process is as close to leave it to beaver as probably you could have. I guess when you don't go through life with a backpack full of baggage, I think that maybe life's a little bit he just didn't have baggage. It was strange, because I've just never been around anybody with no vices. Like, wow, like, you're really talented. You cut a good promo, you're vegan, you're funny, you don't miss a workout, and you don't have any vices. He's got an eye for talent, that's for sure. Look at the people that he's kind of handpicked and pushed up on the WWE product on Raw. Every time one of them went up there, man, it was just like, how quick can we dismantle what got him over and mess this dude up? It was just like when he got sick, when he had the heart episode. They couldn't get down there and dismantle what he built in NXT quick enough. I thought that was messed up, man. Talking about the late Ultimate Warrior being in the WWE Hall of Fame, Ric Flair gave his reasons for why Warrior shouldn't be in the Hall on his podcast. I mean, here's the deal. You hold up the company, then you sue them, which he did, and then you end up in the Hall of Fame. There's a lot of people in the Hall of Fame that are there for, I can't figure out any rhyme or reason why it would be, other than political stuff has gone awry politically, and they're always wanting to heal damaged situations, which I admire them for. But it certainly doesn't mean that someone needs to be in the Hall of Fame. To me, that should be based on skill, ability, and what you've done in the business. With NXT UK being shut down for the time to focus on NXT Europe, PW Insider has now provided an updated list of talent that were let go from WWE. Amir Jordan, Danny Luna, Dave Mastiff, Amelia McKenzie, Primate, Nina Samuels, Rowan Raja, Shaw Samuels, Sid Scala, Trent Seven, Ashton Smith, Jack Stars, T-Bone, Tiaman, Flash Morgan Webster, Wild Boar, Kenny Williams, Amali, Mark Andrews, Zaya Brookside, Eddie Dennis, Saxton Huxley, and Sam Gradwell. As MJF has not been seen on AEW television since his pipe bomb promo asking to be fired, the Wrestling Observer has pointed out that he's supposed to come back. MJF is currently scheduled to be returning somewhat soon. We don't know the exact time, but the negotiations for a new TV deal will likely be taking place starting in just a few months and into the spring. So the TV ratings numbers, probably September to whenever the deal is closed, are the most important to date, so this recent drop is the worst time to have a drop. CM Punk seems to be in hot water in AEW. During Dynamite on Wednesday, Punk reportedly cut a shoot promo on Hangman Page, calling him out to the ring, knowing he wasn't supposed to make an entrance. It was even noted that Punk had a problem with Page's previous promo about him, and eventually told AEW higher-ups at the time he would not lose to Page. Regardless of the drama and rumored threats of Punk quitting, the Observer claims that the company still has the same plans for All Out. Currently, the September 4th All Out pay-per-view has CM Punk versus Jon Moxley for both belts. This is not announced and not 100%, but it is being talked about as the current plan, and there doesn't appear to be a backup plan. Speaking of the drama in AEW, the Observer also noted that many stars in the promotion are at their breaking points. Right now, there is a ton of backstage drama involving many of the top guys that has gotten much worse in recent weeks. There's a part of me where I just think Tony Khan needs to sit everyone down and air everything out before it gets worse. The big thing that started all this is that Colt Cabana is not in the Dark Order with no angle and stopped being brought to television. He was going to be cut, but Khan signed him for Ring of Honor. This is really the catalyst of everything, although different people have different stories as to why it happened, including Page and Punk. But even if that didn't happen, it was probably going to happen for something else, just given the nature of the different personalities involved. It feels like a number of people are close to their breaking point if things don't get settled. talking to Steve Austin on Broken Skull Sessions, Charlotte Flair spoke about the title exchange segment she had with Becky Lynch. Many felt that Charlotte intentionally dropped her title when she was supposed to hand it to Becky, but Flair claims it was not on purpose. You've got two women that want to be the best, that want to be that top spot. I wish I could sit here and tell you that I did it on purpose, but if people need me to be that bad guy, I'll be that bad guy. Things happen on screen. I would never go on a scripted television show and purposefully do something on purpose. It was accidental. Flair would also be asked about Triple H's influence on her career, to which she said, "I just wanted to make him proud, but I also made sure because of the relationship he had with the family, I was so scared to go to him because I never wanted him to think that I expected something or expected more because of the relationship. I wish I had actually gone to him more about matches and character work and things like that, because if anyone understands what it's like, the position he's been in. But I just wanted to make him proud. That's his baby. I wanted to show that I could take care of his baby in NXT." Given the hush money scandal that caused Vince McMahon to retire from WWE, it's no surprise that a new documentary is in the works on McMahon. As Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio, the Vince one is one of the biggest stories of our lifetime. By the way, there's a big doc about to be done on Vince, not made by WWE. Yeah, you don't need wrestling footage, there's so much news footage, and there are a million stories. There's so much to that story. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.